In the blessed name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, we begin this journey into understanding one of the most profound aspects of Islamic spirituality that directly affects every Muslim household. What if you discovered that certain objects in your home were preventing angels from entering and blessing your family? What if the very items you consider harmless decorations or necessities were creating barriers between you and divine protection? This is not merely a matter of superstition or folklore, but a reality firmly established in authentic Islamic teachings that every believer must understand. The presence of angels in our homes brings immeasurable blessings, protection, and spiritual tranquility that transforms the very atmosphere of our living spaces. These celestial beings, created from light and commanded by Allah to serve specific purposes, play crucial roles in our daily lives that extend far beyond our comprehension. When angels frequent our homes, they bring with them divine mercy, protection from evil influences, and spiritual purification that creates an environment conducive to worship, peace, and righteousness. However, there are specific objects and practices that act as barriers, preventing these blessed beings from entering our homes and depriving us of their invaluable presence. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, provided clear guidance about what attracts angels to our homes and what repels them, establishing principles that remain as relevant today as they were 14 centuries ago. Through authentic narrations preserved in the most reliable collections of Hadith, we learn that angels have specific preferences and aversions that directly impact their willingness to enter human dwellings. Understanding these teachings is not merely an academic exercise, but a practical necessity for every Muslim who desires to create a home filled with divine blessing and protection. Consider the profound implications of having angels regularly visit your home. These are the same beings who record our deeds, carry our prayers to Allah, and provide protection against the whispers and attacks of Satan and his followers. When angels are present in our homes, they create an atmosphere of spiritual purity that makes it easier for family members to engage in worship, remember Allah, and maintain righteous behavior. Children raised in homes frequented by angels develop stronger spiritual foundations, while adults find it easier to maintain their prayers, recite the Quran, and engage in beneficial remembrance of Allah. The absence of angels from our homes, however, creates a spiritual vacuum that can be filled by less desirable spiritual influences. Satan and his followers are always seeking opportunities to enter human dwellings and influence the inhabitants towards sin, discord, and forgetfulness of Allah. When angels are prevented from entering our homes due to the presence of prohibited objects or practices, we inadvertently create opportunities for these negative influences to take hold. This can manifest in various ways, including increased family conflicts, difficulty in maintaining religious obligations, persistent negative thoughts, and a general sense of spiritual unease that pervades the household. The first and most significant barrier that prevents angels from entering homes is the presence of images and statues of living beings. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, clearly stated in an authentic hadith narrated by Imam Muslim that angels do not enter houses in which there are images. This prohibition specifically refers to images and representations of humans and animals, whether they are photographs, paintings, sculptures, or any other form of artistic representation that depicts living creatures with souls. The wisdom behind this prohibition extends beyond mere religious compliance and touches upon fundamental aspects of Islamic theology and spiritual purification. The Islamic perspective on images stems from the concept of Tawheed, the absolute unity and uniqueness of Allah as the sole creator. When humans create images of living beings, there is an element of attempting to imitate Allah's creative power, which is considered a form of spiritual transgression. Additionally, throughout history, images and statues have often served as focal points for worship and veneration, leading people away from the worship of Allah alone. By prohibiting images of living beings in homes, Islam protects believers from the gradual slide toward idolatry, while ensuring that their homes remain sanctified spaces worthy of angelic visitation. The Hadith literature provides specific examples of how seriously this matter was treated during the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his companions. In one narration, the angel Jibril, peace be upon him, delayed his usual visit to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and when asked about the reason, he explained that there was a puppy under the bed in the house. Even the presence of a living animal in certain circumstances could delay angelic visitation, highlighting the importance of maintaining spiritual purity in our living spaces. This incident demonstrates that angels are extremely sensitive to their environment, and that even seemingly minor factors can influence their presence. Modern homes are often filled with photographs of family members, artwork depicting people and animals, children's toys in the form of dolls and action figures, and decorative items featuring animal motifs. While these items may seem harmless or even beneficial from a secular perspective, Islamic teachings clearly indicate that they create barriers to angelic presence. Family photographs, which have become ubiquitous in contemporary homes, fall under this prohibition when they depict complete figures of people or animals. The key factor is not the medium or the artistic skill involved, but the representation of living beings with souls. However, Islamic scholars have provided important clarifications regarding this prohibition that help Muslims navigate modern life while maintaining religious compliance. Images that are incomplete, such as those where the head is removed or obscured, are generally considered permissible because they do not represent complete living beings. Additionally, images that serve necessary functional purposes, such as identification documents, passport photos, or security camera footage, are permitted due to genuine need. The prohibition primarily applies to decorative images and those kept for purposes of veneration or aesthetic pleasure. The second major barrier to angelic entry is the presence of dogs within the home, except for specific permitted purposes. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, taught that angels do not enter houses in which there are dogs, except for working dogs, such as those used for hunting, guarding livestock, or protecting crops. This teaching, preserved in authentic Hadith collections, reflects both spiritual principles and practical considerations that continue to be relevant for Muslim households today. The prohibition specifically applies to keeping dogs as pets or companions within the home, rather than utilizing them for their traditional working purposes. The wisdom behind this teaching encompasses multiple dimensions of Islamic guidance. From a spiritual perspective, dogs are considered to create an environment that is less conducive to angelic presence, possibly due to their nature, behavior, or the spiritual dynamics involved in their relationship with humans. From a practical standpoint, dogs can create hygiene challenges that conflict with the Islamic emphasis on cleanliness and purification, which are essential prerequisites for proper worship and spiritual development. Additionally, the cultural context of Arabian society during the Prophet's time included specific understandings about dogs that influenced their role in Islamic teachings. However, this prohibition does not reflect any inherent evil in dogs themselves, as they are among Allah's creatures and serve important purposes in the natural world and human society. The Quran itself tells the story of the people of the cave, where a dog was among the righteous group that was blessed by Allah. The key distinction lies in the specific context of keeping dogs within homes as pets versus utilizing them for their natural working abilities. Guard dogs that protect property while remaining outside the home, hunting dogs used for procuring food, and service dogs that assist people with disabilities fall under different categories that reflect the balance between spiritual considerations and practical necessities. Modern Muslim families often struggle with this teaching, particularly in cultures where dog ownership is common and dogs are considered beloved family members. Children may feel disappointed when they cannot have pet dogs like their non-Muslim friends, and adults may feel conflicted about the emotional bonds that can develop with these animals. Understanding the spiritual reasoning behind this prohibition can help Muslims make informed decisions that prioritize their spiritual well-being while finding alternative ways to satisfy their desire for animal companionship through pets that do not create barriers to angelic presence. The third significant barrier involves the presence of musical instruments within the home, particularly those associated with entertainment rather than religious purposes. While there is scholarly debate about the exact parameters of this prohibition, many authentic narrations indicate that certain types of music and musical instruments can create environments that are less attractive to angels. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, warned about the spiritual dangers of certain forms of music and entertainment that can distract believers from remembrance of Allah and lead them toward frivolous behavior. The concern about musical instruments in Islamic teachings focuses primarily on their potential to promote spiritual heedlessness, encourage immoral behavior, or replace beneficial activities such as Quran recitation and religious study. Instruments associated with drinking, dancing, and other activities that conflict with Islamic values are particularly discouraged. However, this does not mean that all forms of musical expression are prohibited, as Islamic history includes rich traditions of religiously inspired poetry, chanting, and vocal expressions that enhance spiritual experience rather than detract from it. The fourth barrier relates to the consumption and presence of alcohol within the home. Angels are repelled by environments where alcohol is consumed, stored, or celebrated, as intoxicants represent a fundamental contradiction to the spiritual clarity and consciousness that angels embody. The Quran explicitly prohibits alcohol consumption, describing it as an abomination from Satan's handiwork, and this prohibition extends to creating homes where such substances are present. Even cooking wine, decorative bottles, or alcohol kept for guests can create spiritual barriers that prevent angelic visitation. The wisdom behind alcohol prohibition encompasses both individual and social dimensions that directly impact the spiritual atmosphere of homes. Alcohol impairs judgment, reduces spiritual awareness, and often leads to behavior that conflicts with Islamic values. Homes where alcohol is present become associated with activities and attitudes that are fundamentally incompatible with the spiritual purity that angels require. This creates a cycle where the absence of angelic protection makes it easier for negative influences to take hold, potentially leading to increased family problems, spiritual difficulties, and moral challenges. Beyond these major barriers, several other factors can influence angelic presence in homes. Excessive luxury and materialism, while not explicitly prohibited, can create spiritual environments that are less conducive to angelic visitation. When homes become shrines to worldly success rather than places of worship and family connection, they may lose the spiritual atmosphere that attracts divine blessings. This does not mean that Muslims should live in poverty or avoid legitimate comforts, but rather that material possessions should not become the primary focus of home life. Neglect of religious obligations within the home also creates barriers to angelic presence. Homes where prayers are consistently missed, where the Quran is never recited, and where Islamic values are ignored become spiritually barren spaces that offer little attraction for angels. Regular family prayers, Quran recitation, Islamic education for children, and conscious effort to create Islamic atmosphere through beneficial conversations and activities all contribute to making homes more welcoming to angelic visitors. The presence of innovation in religious matters, known as bid'ah in Islamic terminology, can also create spiritual barriers within homes. When families engage in religious practices that have no basis in the Quran or authentic Sunnah, they may inadvertently create confusion and spiritual discord that makes their homes less attractive to angels. This includes various folk practices, superstitious rituals, and religious innovations that have been added to Islam over the centuries without proper religious foundation. Creating an angel-friendly home environment requires conscious effort and consistent application of Islamic principles in daily life. The first step involves removing or modifying objects that create barriers to angelic presence. Family photographs can be stored in albums rather than displayed prominently, or can be modified to show only partial figures. Artwork can focus on calligraphy, geometric patterns, landscapes, and other non-living subjects that enhance rather than detract from Islamic atmosphere. Children's toys can emphasize educational and creative options rather than realistic representations of living beings. Establishing regular religious practices within the home creates positive spiritual momentum that attracts angelic presence. Daily family prayers, regular Quran recitation, Islamic educational activities, and conscious efforts to remember Allah throughout daily routines all contribute to spiritual atmosphere that appeals to angels. Teaching children about Islamic values, encouraging beneficial conversations, and creating family traditions based on Islamic holidays and observances help establish homes as centers of spiritual development rather than merely places of physical shelter. The benefits of maintaining angel-friendly homes extend far beyond religious compliance and touch every aspect of family life. Children raised in spiritually conscious homes develop stronger moral foundations, find it easier to resist negative peer pressure, and maintain closer connections to Islamic values throughout their lives. Adults living in spiritually pure environments experience less stress, find greater peace in their daily routines, and develop stronger relationships with Allah and family members. The presence of angels brings protection from various forms of harm, both spiritual and physical, creating safer environments for all family members. Marriages and family relationships also benefit significantly from angelic presence in homes. The spiritual atmosphere created by angelic visitation promotes patience, understanding, and mutual respect among family members. Conflicts are resolved more easily, communication improves, and family members find greater satisfaction in their relationships with each other. Children show more respect for parents, siblings get along better, and the overall family dynamic becomes more harmonious and supportive. The economic and social benefits of angel-friendly homes are equally significant. Families that prioritize spiritual values often make wiser financial decisions, avoid debt problems, and find greater satisfaction in simple pleasures rather than constantly pursuing material accumulation. Social relationships improve as family members develop stronger moral characters and become more trustworthy, reliable, and pleasant to be around. The reputation of families known for their spiritual values often opens doors to beneficial opportunities and relationships within the community. However, creating angel-friendly homes requires ongoing effort and vigilance, as modern life constantly presents challenges to maintaining spiritual purity. Entertainment media, social pressures, commercial advertising, and cultural norms all tend to promote values and practices that conflict with Islamic teachings. Families must develop strategies for navigating these challenges while maintaining their commitment to creating homes that welcome angelic presence. Education plays a crucial role in helping family members understand the importance of these teachings and their practical applications. Children need age-appropriate explanations of why certain objects and practices are avoided in Islamic homes, along with positive alternatives that satisfy their natural curiosity and creativity. Adults benefit from regular study of Islamic teachings about home life, spiritual purification, and the role of angels in daily life. Community support through mosque programs, Islamic education classes, and family networking with other committed Muslim families provides reinforcement and practical guidance for maintaining these standards. The economic implications of maintaining angel-friendly homes also deserve consideration. Some families may need to replace prohibited items gradually as finances allow, rather than creating financial hardship through immediate, comprehensive changes. Islamic principles emphasize balance and avoiding extremes, so families should prioritize the most significant barriers first while working steadily toward complete compliance. The goal is spiritual improvement rather than financial stress, and Allah recognizes sincere intention even when immediate implementation faces practical constraints. Contemporary Muslim families living in non-Muslim societies face additional challenges in maintaining angel-friendly homes while participating fully in their broader communities. Children may feel different from their peers. Adults may need to explain their choices to neighbors and friends, and families may need to find creative solutions for social situations that conflict with their religious standards. However, these challenges also provide opportunities for dawah, education, and demonstrating the positive aspects of Islamic lifestyle to others who may be curious about Muslim practices. The spiritual rewards of maintaining angel-friendly homes extend beyond the immediate benefits of angelic presence. Allah promises special blessings for those who strive to implement His guidance in their daily lives, and homes become laboratories for spiritual development when they are consciously designed to support Islamic values. Family members develop stronger relationships with Allah, increased consciousness of His presence in their lives, and greater appreciation for the wisdom behind Islamic teachings. The protection that comes from angelic presence in homes manifests in numerous ways that families may not always recognize or attribute to spiritual causes. Accidents are prevented, illnesses are avoided or overcome more easily, financial problems are resolved, family conflicts are minimized, and children develop stronger resistance to negative influences. While these benefits should not be the primary motivation for religious compliance, they represent tangible evidence of Allah's mercy and the wisdom embedded in Islamic teachings about home life. Creating sustainable practices for maintaining angel-friendly homes requires developing habits and routines that become natural parts of family life rather than burdensome obligations. Regular cleaning schedules that include spiritual as well as physical purification, weekly family meetings to discuss Islamic values and their practical applications, monthly reviews of home environment to identify and address potential problems, and annual assessments of family spiritual goals all contribute to making these practices integral parts of family culture. The role of women in creating and maintaining angel-friendly homes deserves special recognition, as mothers and wives often have primary responsibility for daily home management and children's education. Islamic teachings emphasize the tremendous spiritual reward available to women who create Islamic atmospheres in their homes, teaching children about religious values and supporting their husbands' spiritual development. However, this responsibility should be shared among all family members, with fathers taking leadership roles in establishing family spiritual direction and children contributing according to their age and ability. Community support networks play vital roles in helping families maintain angel-friendly homes, particularly in societies where Islamic values are not widely understood or supported. Mosque communities, Islamic schools, halal social groups, and extended family networks all provide resources, encouragement, and practical assistance for families committed to implementing these teachings. Sharing experiences, challenges, and solutions with other Muslim families creates mutual support systems that make individual family efforts more sustainable and effective. The ultimate goal of creating angel-friendly homes extends beyond the individual family to encompass broader community development and Islamic society building. When multiple families in a community prioritize these values, they create positive spiritual momentum that benefits entire neighborhoods and social networks. Children growing up in such environments develop strong Islamic identities. Adults find mutual support for maintaining religious commitments, and the overall community becomes a beacon of Islamic values that attracts others to learn about and potentially embrace Islam. As we conclude this comprehensive exploration of objects and practices that block angels from entering our homes, it becomes clear that this topic encompasses far more than simple rule-following or superstitious avoidance of certain items. The teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, about angelic presence in homes provide a complete framework for creating family environments that support spiritual development, moral education, and divine blessing. By understanding and implementing these teachings, Muslim families can transform their homes into sanctuaries of faith that provide protection, guidance, and spiritual nourishment for all family members. The journey toward creating an angel-friendly home requires commitment, patience, and consistent effort, but the rewards are immeasurable. Families who prioritize these values often discover that their homes become places of peace, happiness, and spiritual growth that they never want to leave. Children develop strong foundations for lifelong spiritual success. Marriages are strengthened through shared commitment to Islamic values, and entire family lines are blessed through the establishment of righteous family traditions that continue for generations. Remember that Allah is most merciful and recognizes sincere intention even when implementation faces practical challenges. The goal is progress rather than perfection, and every step taken toward creating a more Islamic home environment brings families closer to the ideal of angelic visitation and divine blessing. May Allah grant all Muslim families the wisdom, strength, and resources necessary to create homes that welcome angels and provide spiritual sanctuaries for righteous family life.